Rumi. Yes, Rick, I think I love you. Rick, you're so proper fit and so handsome and nice and understanding and caring. I think, yes, Rumi, spit it out. What are you trying to say? Rick, I think I love you too.
And scene. That's my interpretation of Heartstopper Season 3. Hey guys, what's up? It's imoRgency and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about Heartstopper Season 3. It's been a very long time since we've done a traditional show review on this channel, and I am excited to bring them back with Heartstopper because this is one of my favorite series to talk about because I feel like it is such a special show, especially for the queer community, because as I've talked about in previous videos, we should definitely go watch if you have not already, queer representation in media is so lackluster, especially positive queer representation in queer love stories in media. It's severely underrepresented, so I'm so happy to see the show continuously getting more and more seasons and having the plot and the story gradually get better and better as they have more time to develop and work on it. And I feel like Heartstopper is just one of those shows that you just kind of gotta love. Like, it just feels like so nostalgic for some reason, but like nostalgic in like a positive timeline. Now, people have had their very real critiques of Heartstopper for previous seasons, especially when it comes to the way that everything is portrayed as being so positive and being so almost utopian in the sense of queer relationships, with basically everybody on the show being LGBTQIA+ and having that be deemed as like unrealistic or pandering. But I feel like this season, if any season, really does break that mold and takes off the rose-colored glasses and shows a lot of the reality and the ugly truths behind getting to know someone, what it's like to be in a relationship, and how the real world comes in and impacts relationships, both romantic and platonic. And two, even if the season did not do that, is it so bad to have this dreamy utopian-ish society where things are more inclusive? God forbid the gays have too much fun. So in this video, we're breaking down the entire season, talking about some things that I love, some things I did not, as well as getting into some predictions and hopes for the next season, season 4, which has been confirmed to be coming soon. But before we do that, if you are new to the channel and like content like this, then be sure to subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Follow me on my socials at imoRgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you want to go further to support the channel, consider hitting the join button and becoming a channel member. Channel members actually got early access to this video and exclusive access to a non-spoiler review of this season before this season actually came out. So shout out to my channel members. Some of the information in this video may sound a little familiar because y'all got the early and exclusive school. But let's talk about Heartstopper Season 3. This season honestly felt like a return to form. I talked about this a bit in my non-spoiler review, but I really felt like Season 2, while it was great, was kind of a departure from a lot of the things that I personally loved from Season 1. Like, it felt like Season 2 was definitely framed around the Paris trip, the build up, the actually being in Paris, and the fallout from being in Paris, which is fine. But what I feel like I really liked about Season 1 is that it took place in one location and it really focused in on the characters and their relationships to each other. Not to say that that wasn't the case in Season 2, because that was a large aspect of Season 2's plot. But with this season, again, taking place at school, we really get a chance to delve more into each of the characters, and each and every character in the season gets so much character development. We learn so much about them as they continue to learn so much about themselves. And I really feel like it is true for every character that the version of them that we see at the beginning of this season are not the same versions of themselves that we see at the end of this season. And that is called character growth, a character arc, and character development. A lot of these shows should be taking notes, because this is me going on a mini rant. There are way too many shows on television right now where it feels like a lot of these characters do not go through character arcs. They do not experience character growth. Like, sure, they go through some traumatic stuff. Sure, they go through some turmoil, but they come out of that season the exact same and making the same exact mistakes as they did in previous seasons, which some can argue, yes, that's supposed to be accurate representation, because in most cases with people in real life, they have to make a mistake a couple of times to really learn their lesson. But I feel like in a TV medium, and especially in the culture of entertainment that we're in right now, where most shows aren't getting more than 2 seasons and we're lucky to get a season renewal, and having these seasons be around 8 to 10 episodes, we do not have enough time, patience, or mental wherewithal to wait for them to eventually learn their lessons and to change, because there's no guarantee that we're ever going to see that change or we're going to remember to see that change. Like, it just gives like there is no progression because the characters and the shows are not able to progress. That is a whole other video topic I will rant about very, very soon. So stay tuned for that, because obviously, as you can tell, I have a lot of thoughts on the ongoing entertainment recession that we're now in. But all of this is to say that Heartstopper did get a lot of character development. There was a clear character arc for every, if not almost every single main/supporting character in this season, and I love to see that. And this season just felt so gentle. And it's been clear before, but this season it was really made clear clear how much love is truly poured into the show, because the show's creators, the cast, everyone involved are so mindful and gentle with its characters and its story. And honestly, I think that's really inspiring, because I feel like we should all try to be more mindful and gentle with ourselves as well, especially when it comes to our consumption, which is why I'm happy to partner again with this video sponsor, Bombas. Bombas makes the number 1, 2, and 3 most requested clothing items in homeless shelters, socks, t-shirts, and underwear, and donates an item with every single purchase. It is officially fall, which means the weather has been getting a little chillier, but Bombas has you covered with their assortment of cute and cozy socks to keep you warm for the fall. I've still been loving the running socks for my half marathon training too. P.S. I actually run my first race this weekend, so keep me in your thoughts and prayers. They also carry a bunch of other products, from socks to slides to underwear to t-shirts, that not only make you feel good, but do good as well. They've already donated over 100 million items to homeless shelters, so this is truly a purpose-driven brand that I can get behind. Feel good and do good with Bombas, knowing that your purchase is doing some real good in the world. New customers get 20% off their first purchase. Just go to bombas.com/emergency and use code emergency at checkout. Thanks so much, Bombas, for sponsoring this video. Let's continue talking about Heartstopper. But yeah, like I was saying, the season was just handled with such care, and I feel like that is so important, because when we get to the meat and potatoes of season 3, we see a much darker and more serious storyline than we have in the past. Like in previous seasons, the darker aspects of the show have been standing up for yourself, standing up to a bully, and an emotionally abusive ex. Last season touched on the realities of coming out to your family, as well as the inklings and the beginnings of, trigger warning, eating disorders in relation to Charlie. And for the sake of this video, because of the plot and content of season 3, we are going to be talking about eating disorders a lot. I'm going to shorten it and reference it as ED for the rest of this video, just for simplicity's sake, just to avoid some potential demonetization issues with the content topics. But those were the general darker themes of the previous seasons. This season really delves into what was the setup from season 2. This season, we really delve into Charlie's ED and recently revealed OCD, and how that impacts all of his relationships with people and their relationships to each other. This season also delves into a lot of the real realities of being trans, and how oftentimes trans people are forced into the role of advocate and being the spokesperson for all trans people whenever they have a platform, or are given the chance to be highlighted in Elle's storyline this season. This season just gets so much more real. And let's talk about this through the different characters in this season. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, Charlie. At the beginning of this season, Charlie really isn't doing too well. We're progressively shown more and more how Charlie's ED is affecting his life, with him skipping meals, eating very lightly, and generally hiding things from his friends, family, and Nick. Now, like I said, this was beginning to be alluded to in season 2. We find out that the reason why Charlie has developed this ED was from the intense bullying that he experienced when he first came out, and that he's been quietly struggling with this for a while now, but it seems like things are getting progressively worse. And Nick is clearly concerned by this, like it is one of the top things on his mind, and he's constantly looking out for Charlie. Sometimes arguably going a bit too far with his approach, but you kind of got to feel for him, like what 16-year-old really does know what to do in those situations, how to take care of / support someone who is going through that, especially someone that you love so much. So while Nick may have not always said the right thing to Charlie, his intentions were pure, and I think Charlie eventually came around to understand that. But in the moment, we see Charlie get really frustrated with Nick in a way that we have not seen prior. Like prior to this, things have been largely good. They have been very much so in love, which is a whole other thing that happens this season. But most of their interactions have been positive, with the only exceptions and emotions being displayed being sadness, anxiety, or really fear or frustration. We've never really seen Nick and Charlie be angry at each other or express some really negative emotions towards each other. In this season, we really see that with the way that Charlie lashes out at Nick while he's going through this. Now, as someone who hasn't gone through having an ED, I don't think it's my place to talk about whether or not this was good or bad representation of it. I will say though, from knowing people that have struggled through one and have shared their experiences with me, that the portrayal of Charlie's ED was very different to how EDs are typically portrayed in media, really showing the back and forth and complexity of emotions that Charlie is going through, the shame, the guilt, the anxiety, as well as portraying the road to recovery, because Charlie does end up going to rehab this season to get better, and showing that rehab wasn't like this miracle place that you go to and automatically you're better or automatically you're so much worse. It showed a more realistic approach of demonstrating that Charlie going through rehab gave him the tools to really begin helping himself, but also still relying on his community to help him help himself get better as well, showing that he still definitely had bad days, but he also did have have really great days, and that the goal wasn't to magically be better, but to eventually have more good days than bad days and to be able to manage your bad days better. And I really love that because I feel like that is very strong messaging, not necessarily just for EDs, but for multiple forms of mental illness and even grief. Like trying to strive to be 100% better and cured is not realistic or really helpful for a lot of people because that can be very daunting and can set you up for a lot of disappointment because people aren't all or nothing creatures or beings. So portraying that sense of slow and steady growth could be especially helpful for young people as well as older people as well going through it. Switching gears, I did allude to this before, but the season started off by us finally getting the confirmation, or not us getting the confirmation, but more Nick and Charlie getting the confirmation that they love each other. They said the three-word vow. Three-word vow is crazy. They said I love you to each other, and of course it had to be in their little awkward and cute way. And my little stone heart cracked and warmed just a little bit when I saw that scene because it was so wholesome. Like that is the wholesome Heartstopper that we love to see because Charlie is just so inherently awkward. Like who decides to confess your love for someone while your partner's in the shower actively showering? That's wild to me, but it's so Charlie, and I love that. And I think we talked about Charlie enough for this section. Let's focus on Nick really quick. Nick, I feel like, is very interesting this season. Nick is realizing that he has no idea who he is, and you can't really blame him. Like, of course, there's like the whole he's 16 of it all, and what 16-year-old really knows who they are. But then you have to compound that on the fact that the past 1.5 to 2 years of his life have been so transformational. He has come out and realized that he is bi. He has learned how to fully give himself into a relationship, as well as trying to navigate where he's going with his life, which kind of leaves him in a place of like, who am I outside of all of this? Because he doesn't really get an opportunity to really find that out. Because all of his time is spent thinking about or being with Charlie and being with his friends. He's not really given a lot of time to really process all of the change that he's gone through over the past couple of years that have been really instrumental to who he is today. So a lot of the troubles that he goes through is, for one, putting the needs of his relationship over himself, and two, figuring out what he's about to do with his life because he's about to go to uni. Oh my God, I love British people so much. Shout out to all my British roommates. Sound up in the comments if you're British. I want to go to London one day and what do they say? And chop it up with you lot. Oh, y'all gonna hate me. But it was really nice to really be in Nick's head this season. I know that we got a little bit of that in season 2, but I feel like this season more than ever, we got a lot more of Nick's POV. We got a whole half of an episode narrated by Nick and more time really in Nick's head, understanding where he's at and how he feels about things. And I just think that that was really refreshing because we don't get that too often. Like we really see how uncomfortable he is outside of being with Charlie. Like when he went on that vacation at the beginning of the season to when he went on those college trips at the end of the season, he is physically unwell when he is not in that man's presence. And for one, that's so cute. And two, that is also very concerning because that is codependency, babes. And I think we're going to talk about this later when we talk about predictions and stuff. I do think that is going to come to bite him in the butt for season 4. And it's going to be a heavy point of contention in season 4 because, again, we're going to talk about the end of this season. A lot of things were left in the air and not necessarily resolved, which means that they're going to be resolved eventually in season 4. And that's going to be messy. But now let's talk about some of the other characters. I want to talk about Tara and Darcy. I think their relationship is so interesting and also so underrated. Like they don't get nearly enough attention for my taste. Like I think they need to be more highlighted. And I think they got definitely more screen time this season, but I love them together. They are a little bit of a mess, but who isn't this season? Like you have Tara really going through a lot, trying to focus on her future and all this pressure on her to be the perfect partner, be the perfect daughter, be the perfect student, which can be really overwhelming for her. And you see that really take a toll on her. And you have Darcy living with her for a period in this season, really overwhelming her because she feels like she needs more space from Darcy, which is very real. Again, a 16-year-old with a live-in partner is a bit of a lot. It is a bit of a lot. And I say partner because Darcy has some revelations this season that they're actually non-binary. And again, when it comes to representation, this show will deliver. But I think that the way that they realize that they're non-binary is so real. Like they're walking with Elle, Imogen, and Sahar, and this one lady says, "Oh, excuse me, ladies." And Darcy's like, does anyone else find it weird or feel weird when somebody calls us ladies? And everyone's like, no. And at that point, the NB gears started really churning in Darcy's mind. And I'm so happy that this show has non-binary representation because I feel like the non-binary community is so heavily underrepresented. So shout out to Darcy. It was never really like this big reveal. It was just kind of casually soft launched. And I love that for them. On the topic of representation, you also have people like Isaac, who really comes more in grips with being asexual and aromantic. He really seems at the beginning of the season to really struggle with that, as he literally is in a friend group with people who are all in relationships relationships and constantly are rubbing their relationships in his face as he feels. I felt really bad for him for most of the season because most of his friends were being very bad friends to him, and he kind of just like takes it. And honestly, I think we need an Isaac episode because I don't think we understand how lonely it is to be Isaac. Having all of your friends be in relationships and hanging out with their partners where you're kind of just like there by yourself. So like, sure, as an ace and aromantic person, you don't want a romantic partner, but you still want someone to spend time with. Like, you still want a friend. So I can see how not having that was definitely very hard for him. And I'm glad that they started to pour more into him as the season went on. But like, yeah, it was looking really rough for Isaac. Now let's talk about Elle and Tao. Elle and Tao's relationship is so cute and so wholesome. Like, the whole theme of this season, I feel like their relationship is to really trust in each other. Like, Tao has a lot of anxiety. Tao definitely has a fearful and anxious attachment style. Like, he is constantly afraid that Elle will leave him, and he feels that she is way too good for him. And Elle at the beginning of the season doesn't really feel like she can trust Tao with a lot of the things that she goes through and experiences and feels, with her being a trans woman and him being a cisgendered man. But I really like that throughout this season, they learn to trust more in each other. Tao being more confident in his relationship with Elle, feeling like he doesn't have to constantly do the absolute most at all times. And Elle feeling like she can begin to share things with Tao and really confide in Tao and give him the opportunity to really try and understand and relate with her. And I honestly think that their relationship might be the cutest. Like that video that Tao made for Elle to cheer her up. Oh my God. Oh my God. You want to talk about romance? That is romance. That is love right there. If someone did that for me, take it. Take it. Take my hand in marriage. One of the bigger moments for Elle this season, which was really unfortunate, was for one, Elle became an influencer. Woo! Shout out to Elle. That's not the sad part. The sad part is from the recognition that she's been getting from her art. She got invited to go on a radio show where she thinks she's just there to talk about art, but the radio host then completely derails the conversation and makes it about Elle's opinions as a trans woman on how people are just violently transphobic and her takes on a lot of transphobic rhetoric, which I feel like is very sad, but also very real. Like, I feel like for so often for underrepresented minority groups, especially when it comes to the trans community, trans people are expected to take on the emotional labor of being advocates in every space that they go in. Like, you can't just highlight your art or be praised for some great work that you've done. You also have to be the spokesperson for every trans issue ever, no matter how traumatizing it can be. For one, have that be your lived experience, and two, be forced to talk about things that literally debate your existence. Like, it'd be different if you're like debating your art, if you're talking about the validity of the art or the stuff that you do, but to debate your existence, especially when people in your community are being violently attacked, if not unalived, for simply existing, it is at very least emotionally draining and at worst traumatizing. So that episode was a really hard watch, and I really felt for Elle because that interview derailed her for a bit in the season, but I'm glad that her and Tao were able to come together to move forward through that, but also glad they're able to have that conversation. Last on the character list, can we clock Imogen in Sahar's tea? Sahar's a new character. Why Imogen kind of giving Pretty Girls by Renee Rapp? Like, if you don't know the tea, Sahar, new character, and Imogen made out at a party. So Sahar realized that she was bisexual because of her feelings for Imogen. And Imogen is like, oh, I was just drunk, girl. Girls just kiss when they drunk, which drastically altered the course of their friendship. And one thing I didn't understand was that they decided, I think, if I understood this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, they decided to be friends and that their friendship was more important. But that did still leave a question mark for Imogen, because Imogen did definitely go ahead and kiss Sahar again after the fact. So I'm like, where does that leave y'all? I'm gonna need season 4 to really clear that up because I was a little confused. Okay? Because if Imogen is bisexual or like pan or whatever, the only straight character in the main cast is Tao. And honestly, period. We also got a little bit more POC in the cast. One of the big criticisms I had for Heartstopper is that it is very white. It is a painfully white show. We've had Elle, Tara, and Tao, but now we have Sahar and Charlie's sister's new boyfriend. So I'm like, period, we're getting more POCs on the show. I love to see it. Like, we're so close to getting Black queer love in this show because the teachers exist. Because we have all these interracial couples, we just need one. We just need one Black couple on the show. We do. Like, when the teachers started dating, I was like, oh, that's so cute, but we're so close. We're so close. But yeah, Heartstopper is getting more diverse, and I love to see that. Now, one thing that I feel like I've kind of been skirting around, the sex, the intercourse. This season introduced the intercourse. Yes. Everybody was hunching this season, and I feel like they did it so tastefully. The producers, not the people actually hunching. Like, I think they portrayed the sexual content in a way that was very tasteful. Like, we didn't see too much. They weren't doing the most. Like this wasn't Euphoria on the beat, because that would have been just weird. Because again, I think we're over the age of seeing high schoolers have intercourse on television, because I've always thought that that's weird when you're portraying it in such a graphic way. But I feel like, again, they did it in such a tasteful way where like they show that like, they were getting busy, but they didn't reveal too much. They didn't make it too graphic, and they kept it romantic. It was romantic through and through for everybody. Because again, almost everybody was hunching. Elle and Tao, Tara and Darcy, and Nick and Charlie. And I love the build up to it, but I will say though, that the advertising was a little false. In the interviews between Kid Connor and Joe Locke, they were making it seem like they were hunching every single episode. They're like, oh yeah, the theme of this season is intercourse. We had a 7-hour filming day for all the intercourse in the season. Like it made it seem like it was going to be in every episode. Like it was about to be 50 Shades of Heartstopper, like 50 Shades of Freak. Like it was crazy. But actually what ended up happening was we didn't really get anything until like the last 2 episodes, mostly the last episode. So I just feel like that was a little bit of false advertising to get even more hype for the season. Not mad at it. Again, I'm happy that it was tasteful. I'm glad that they have broken that boundary with each other and did it in a way that was real. They promoted safe intercourse, and I'm all for that, period. But now let's take a break from talking about the plot and let's talk about something that honestly surprised me this season: the score. The music. The music budget this season had to have been insane. It had to have been wild, because how did they afford to get all these songs on here? Like it seemed like they bought out the rights and licensing to all of the top 20 songs across genres from like the past 2 years. Like everything sounded so current. Like I knew it was serious when they opened the season to some Biba Doobie. Like what y'all know about Biba Doobie? Like to open the season to some Biba Doobie is crazy. They had Gracie Abrams up on there. I think they might have had Taylor Swift on there. I don't know. But then one thing that really caught me off guard was the Billie Eilish of it all. I think they played a couple of Billie Eilish songs. I know they had Birds of a Feather for the trailer. I was expecting Birds of a Feather to play during the season. It did not, but they did play Blue. And I think it was Blue. I'm pretty sure it was Blue. And I thought that that was so strange, because the scene that they played Blue in, like they played that song during the party scene. And there are a couple Billie songs that can be played in a party setting. Can't understand that. Blue is not one of them. Like what teenager is throwing a party and putting on Blue by Billie Eilish? Like it really took me out the scene, because I'm like, well, why are they listening to all this sad ass shit? Well, they partying. And at first I'm like, okay, maybe it's like the music to set the scene. Like it's not actually what's being played at the party. It's what's being meant to portray what's happening, because what was happening was very blue. But then the people stopped talking and the sound effects show that like, no, this is the music of the party, not the music of the scene. And I'm like, wow, that's different. That's different. I've never seen that before. But the music overall was really good. And I was just shocked at the budget. Like they really pulled all the stops for the budget this season in terms of like music and score. And I feel like they did a great job with that. Now, finally, let's talk about the ending and my predictions for the next season. I think that this ending was so strange. Like I talked about this in the non-spoiler review, but I really thought the way that the season ended, I thought that there was going to be an extra episode at the end. Like I thought that there was going to be a part 2. I looked up Heartstopper season 3 part 2 because I thought that there was going to be one more episode. The way that it ended made it seem like there was going to be an extra episode at the end just to wrap things off, because I feel like it left off with Charlie on that phone. And I feel like there's so much to still be unpacked and so much that's unresolved. Like Charlie and Nick still have not talked about what's going to happen. Like what the reality is, just from like the typical predictable way things would play out. I haven't read any of the books, so I don't know how things actually do play out, but it seems like the direction that they're going is that Nick is going to end up picking the school that he actually likes, probably at first being like, oh no, I'm going to go to the close school because I want to be with Charlie, and Charlie's going to be like, no, don't sacrifice your future for me, go where you want, and he's going to end up going to the farther school and they're going to long distance it out. They have not had that conversation yet. I thought that they would at least like start to have that conversation. They did not, and it felt like that for most of the characters on this season. Like it felt like nothing really got fully resolved, and that season 4 was really going to really close out a lot of those storylines. So I was just kind of left like, oh, very interesting. Like there's still definitely some underlying turmoil between Tara and Darcy, because I feel like they don't really talk out any of their issues fully. Like I feel like they definitely tackle the battles that pop up right in front of them, but the overarching things that go on between them, they don't really address or haven't really fully talked about. I like the strongest couple right now is probably Elle and Tao. I feel like they have the most healthy attachment in a relationship right now that they've like learned to like be apart from each other and not be as codependent. So I'm really interested to see how that goes moving into season 4. I think season 4 overall is going to be a very emotional season. I feel that we might see a breakup at the end of season 4. Like again, people that have read the books probably like, Rumi, you are so far off, or like, Rumi, you are spot on, like how you know this. I just see it. I think that the series needs it. I think that we need to see a breakup. We've only seen people get together really in Heartstopper, and I feel like, I don't know if Heartstopper is meant to be like a happy-go-lucky series in the end, like everyone's supposed to have a happy ending at the end, or if there's supposed to be like more realistic growth and development. I think we need to see breakups, because I think we need to see how the people that break up experience that and how their community and friends around them really support them through it. And I think that because this friend group that they're in is so heavily tied into relationships, like everyone is friends with each other and everyone is dating each other, the mess and the fallout of a breakup will be crazy because they're everybody's friend. Will it break apart the friend group? Will there be two different factions? Will there be two different sides, or will they be cordial? I don't know. We need to see it. So that's my prediction for season 4. In my head, I think it would be too dramatic to have Nick and Charlie break up, but they might. But I feel like if they did break up, they'd break up and then they get back together. That's just my thoughts though. I don't know. I foresee a breakup. I foresee some turmoil. I foresee them going off to college. Although I hope that they don't go to college in season 4, because as like the people that went off to college and college tours were off, seeing the people that were still in school, like I think it's Tao, Charlie, Isaac, and Darcy maybe. I think that the real powerhouse characters are the ones that are going to college. No shade. Like the ones that I love down and think are like the more emotionally and just generally more entertaining are leaving. So I hope that they don't go, because then it's gonna be really sad, because I love Darcy, I love Elle, I love Nick and Imogen. Like those are all like the big personalities. So if all the big personalities end up leaving, I'm like, dang, those are the only extroverts of the group. I mean Darcy, but like other than that, those are the only extroverts. Like Tao, yeah, but Tao can't carry the whole show on his back. Charlie's introverted. Like, I need that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'll leave my thoughts off for that. I'm sure I'm forgetting to mention something. Y'all will let me know down in the comments. What did you love about the season, and what are you mad that I did not talk about or address? Because I feel like I'm missing something. I'm forgetting to talk about something, but honestly, I don't know. Overall, I really did love this season. I have to give this season a solid 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think that it was great. I think that the stories that it told this season really pushed the story forward and really gave a lot of legitimacy to Heartstopper as a series for a lot of the naysayers out there. And I'm just genuinely so excited for a season 4. I know that it may take some time though, because the cast of Heartstopper are doing such great things. Kit's acting on Broadway. He's in movies. He's in fashion. Joe's in the MCU now with Agatha all along, doing his big thing. Elle being the supermodel that she is. Like, they're all doing amazing things. I'm so happy for them. I'm so proud of them. And yeah, I love this show. I love the cast. I love everything about it. And I can't wait to come back and talk about Heartstopper some more when season 4 does come out. Or honestly, in a couple of weeks when we talk about some things that have to do with TV and media, because I do reference this show a lot. So yeah, let's just be real. We're gonna be talking about Heartstopper for a while. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you're new to the channel, then definitely subscribe, leave a like, and follow me on my social medias at imoRgency on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Thanks again, Bombas, for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to go to bombas.com/imoRgency for all new customers to get 20% off your first purchase using code imuRgency at checkout. Other than that, y'all, I've been imuRgency, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.